Everybody, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Curie? Mr. Bova? Mr. Grodzki? Mr. Cord?
Yep.
Mr. Coyne?
Here.
Mr. Delia?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Present.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Mattolo?
Here.
Ms. Sesney? Here. Mr. Wallace?
Yes. You have the July 29, 2019 draft minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Frank. Second, thanks, Mark. Any questions, concerns, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda is award of construction contract, which I will turn over to Dick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, there are actually four resolutions in your package this evening, and preceding them is a copy of the Capital Project Committee meeting notes from the meeting that we held about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago to discuss them, and all the resolutions were approved to come before the full board. The first one is a construction contract for a project we've had in development for a while now, and that is to construct a bypass portion of our transmission main on the Marcy Reservoir site on Kavanaugh Road. We have a 100-year-old portion of the main is under the existing reservoir, which we're going to remove from service to eventually build a second water tank there. In order to take that out of service, we need a replacement. That's what this project does. And there's some value-added items, not only transmission main, but we've added a brand new Venturi type meter in the project to provide an ability to measure and account for flows. The old one's 100 years old. And also to add isolation valves where we tie into our existing transmission mains. So in the event of a break or an outage of any type, we can move water to the other side and maintain service. So project budget was $800,000. We had 7 bidders. We did procure in accordance with our requirements and advertisement in the OD. And our low bid was $707,000 from Central New York Construction, which is the former Hanna or successor to Hanna Construction, which has done a lot of work for us in the past, and Central New York has as well. We had 7 bidders. The next 2 were at $722,000 and $749,000. As an owner, that's the kind of thing we like to see. That means that number is the right number, and that's what you want. You want to be able to get the job done, successfully in a quality product. But those numbers were good. We did range up to $999,000, so I'm just putting a number in for the sake, I guess, of putting a number in. So at this point, with the budget acceptable and the work has to be done, we had to think of there by summer of next year. Hanna, or Central New York, is actually planning on doing it this fall and early winter. It's the kind of project you can do during that time frame to finish up the surface restoration, some of the work next year. But we would recommend award to Central New York Construction for the $707,000, subject to them providing all their insurances as we usually require.
Any questions for Dick? Someone care to move the motion as presented? I will. Thank you. Bruce, thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one question. Do we have a purchasing bid tab on our website where we post these things?
Post the advertisements for bid? I don't believe so. We advertise in the OD, and then we also advertise on Dodge Report, Central New York Exchange, so all the people that are looking for it.
Has anybody thought about putting purchasing and bid?
No, it's something I think we could certainly do.
Our website needs a lot of modernizing.
Oh, no question.
That's something that needs to be done.
Anything else, Bruce? Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next is another award for professional services, Dick.
Yeah, this is related to the same project. About 4 months ago, the board did authorize GHD engineers, formerly Stearns and Wheeler, to design this portion of the transmission main project we just awarded. GHD, formerly Stearns and Wheeler, did the original Marcy tank, Kavanaugh Road tank, and transmission mains back in 2008 as part of our effort to remove the reservoirs from active service. That's the reason we hired them to do the design. Tonight, we are recommending they be hired to provide construction phase engineering services at a cost of $36,440. They'd be on board for the next 6 or 7 months to provide part-time observation on site for critical issues. Usually we'll have 1 or 2 of our people up there watching the project, construction administration, submittal review, payment application review, and important record drawings when we're done. And also they'll be on site enough to certify the Department of Health that the plans were done in accordance with the permit that we get from Department of Health to do the work. For the same reasons we hired GHD several months ago. Again, familiarity with the site, it take a lot of effort to go out for proposals. We just felt it's reasonable to go ahead and recommend them to do this work. It's an hourly rate contract as well, so we recommend GHD be retained for the next phase of the project.
Which capital projects committee recommends?
Yes, which capital project committee recommended. Yep.
Any questions for this regarding this one? Someone inclined to move? Thank you, Betty. The second? Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Resolution for grant funding. Dick?
Yeah, actually, agenda items 6 and 7 are related to the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act funding that we're going for both under 6, the raw water main construction, the first phase of that, at $10,445,000, and then the Toby Road tank, which I'll talk about next. These applications actually went in Friday. A year ago, we prepared very similar, almost exactly the same, except the dollar numbers to support those applications. What the DEC, or the Environmental Facility Corp, wants to see is a commitment from the board that they're behind the projects, and that if funding was received, we would move to undertake the projects. It's not a commitment to go ahead and bid or build or anything like that. 60% funding is available under the Water Improvement Act for the projects. So in this case, in this one, it would be potentially a $6 million award. And if we were awarded that, we would take the steps to go ahead and undertake the project. This first one is a mile out of the 3 miles of the raw water main from the treatment plant up to the Hinckley intakes. Part of our long-range, almost $50 million plan to completely replace our existing, the 24-inch, the older transmission main that's there now. So this basically authorizes Pat to, or we've already signed the applications, but authorizes us to support the applications. We'll send these in next week. We actually put the ones from last year in for this point due to the timing, but we'll just replace them with these. So,
Any questions for Dick regarding this one? Someone inclined to make the motion? Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Dave. Any further comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next, Dick.
Number 7 is actually related to the transmission main project we approved earlier. This would be the tank, a new tank up in Marcy at the Toby Road site. We have the 2 sites, the Kavanaugh Road site, the reservoir that we're talking about earlier, and then Toby Road, where we have 2 large tanks. This new tank could go in either one of them. Because of the work we have yet to do at Marcy, we're applying for the one at Toby, because that, literally, if we got the money, we could build a tank there in the next year and a half. It's about a little over, almost $14 million project, all in at $13,715,000. And again, this just says things like, we've done our environmental reviews, we've completed the application that's in, and the board does support submitting the application and would support the project.
Any questions for Dick regarding this one? Motion? Thanks, Frank. Second? Thanks, Rich. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. Thanks, Dick. You guys did an awesome job. In our miscellaneous portion of the packet, we have an employee travel policy surplus property disposition policy. Are there 2 in there?
There's three.
Should be three.
There are three.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Who's doing this, Pat?
Well, Jim brought them forward for us, but as we mentioned at prior meetings, we are required under public authorities law to be renewing these periodically, and so we're bringing them back for reconsideration. There were very few, if any, changes other than
Travel
couple dollar
policy,
amounts.
the travel policy was just updated for the
Cost.
IRS per diem rates. Occasionally the IRS, they don't do it every year, but occasionally they'll update them, and then they put out a new list of high cost of living areas. So we go by that, and it seems to work, and that's how we crafted the policy over the years.
So essentially, they're the same policies that the board has approved in the past. We're just reaffirming them at this point.
Yep.
Because we're required to do that. If there's any specific questions on any, we'd be happy to take those questions.
But we have to take it one by one?
Yeah.
Probably better than
I would assume so.
So the first one would be the surplus property disposition policy. Any questions or concerns regarding that?
I have none. And it just has to do with.
What page are you on, Frank?
It's the surplus policy. When you dispose of stuff in the garage down here, I would like some documentation that it's already passed this requirement, that it's authorized. For me to dispose of stuff, I need council legislation, I need corporation council to write it, I need the common council to approve it, and E&A to approve it beyond that. So there's a whole process to throw something away. Stuff from the water authority ends up in that same pile. So just to that end, I would like something from the water authority saying it's been through the process here, and it's okay to get rid of.
Oh, some sort of written thing saying you can
Yes.
throw this out.
Yes. In essence, yes.
Is it mostly like furniture, or
Well, I'm not going through that process. That's, you guys can do that if you want. Pardon
are
me?
you talking like furniture? What kind
No, I'm talking mostly, where'd Jim go? You want-
Oh, computer stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that
Oh, a lot.
enters into our pile. So we accumulate stuff down there.
Okay,
And
yeah.
There's a whole process to get rid of it.
Yeah, okay.
So when you add to that pile, I would like something that says it's been through your process.
Okay.
What's the process you use now?
Well, we post it, we try to see if
Well,
it's big enough.
you make the decision.
Oh, generally it's done in-house with Jim and I, department head.
Depends on the item,
Yeah.
but say like a vehicle, we'll go through a review process. It's done at the manager level to determine that it's served its useful life, and that we'll go through a auction process of selling that vehicle and getting some sort of proceeds from it. But then once we sell it, then it's displayed up at front, the items that were sold and
Yeah, no,
and what the
I'm
price
just
was.
curious about the process itself, how the decision is made, it's time to get rid of the truck, or it's time to get rid of the computer. I mean, how's it, you know, I'm just curious about how that is done.
Oh, replacing computer equipment is done by our IT department on a regular schedule. So as stuff gets outdated, we have a laptop or a desktop that's 8 years old, 9 years old, the operating system is crashing. It's too slow to run newer stuff.
Yeah, I don't need.
What they'll do is they'll just see if there's anybody who wants to buy it, if there's no bidders, then we scrap it.
No, I'm just wondering.
What about the United County surplus website? You got
We've
that?
used that as well.
Yeah, use that, yeah.
The city has their own, they have another agency now. My point is it ends up in my pile.
Sure, just
I
check.
don't think so. No, it's right.
College reasons.
Well, if you would prefer, we won't
No,
put it there.
I don't
We can get rid of ourselves if we want to do
I
that.
don't care, if it's in that pile, when I call.
Sure.
I-
You want to make sure it's been approved.
Yeah, okay. I know what you're getting at, because sometimes things end up in the pile that are really not,
No, understood.
ready for.
Well, hopefully we won't end up in the pile. Hopefully we won't be in that pile.
Okay, we'll make sure we do that.
I forgot if we made the motion or not, so I'd ask that it be made again. Thanks, Bruce. Second, please.
You have to do the travel policy, or?
No, I'm still on the
Surplus
surplus one, because I just wasn't sure if we got that one down or not. So, were you all done, Frank?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The next one, I'm going by the order in our packet, the investment guidelines. You wanted to say anything about that, Jim?
Generally speaking, what this whole thing talks about is we invest in things that have full faith and credit of the United States. Treasuries, CDs, we can invest in, money markets, very limited. And this policy mirrors what the state, at the state level. So we've essentially taken what the state has recommended and used that.
And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is also dictated by our bonding index.
And our binding, it talks about it in our binding.
So it's a pledge to the bondholder that's in there by contract whenever we borrow, so it's not a whole lot of discretion to deviate from.
Right.
Any questions or concerns regarding this policy? A motion? Thank you, Frank. Second, thanks, Bruce. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. And then the employee travel policy. Any comments on that, Pat?
No, it's the same one that's been in place for years and years and reapproved by the board, I think on 2 occasions. But as Jim said earlier, there's just, we've updated some of the costs based on the IRS schedules as they publish. Other than that, nothing's different.
Any questions regarding this? Motion?
No.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Rich. Any further comments or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Finance. Anything further, Jim?
Just as I mentioned before, I think you have in your packet 2 months worth of reports, but even though consumption is down about 2.8%, our revenue is actually exceeding the actual compared to last year about $200,000, so we're in good shape there. And cash flow is, we're at a break-even point right now. We're hoping in the next several months of getting additional cash so that we can confidently make our retirement payment that's due in December.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you. Pat?
Okay, thank you. First thing I want to mention is an update on the project we talked quite a bit about going east towards Ilion. On Friday, the 6th, we had a meeting over here with the engineer that's managing the project, along with Roy Anastito and her staff, Dolores Caruso and others, and the Page Group to discuss developing a public education program to help each community know exactly what's being done and how it affects them, et cetera. And we then had a follow-up meeting the following Tuesday down in Herkimer County at 6 o'clock with, 7 o'clock, excuse me, with the 5 municipalities that are involved. So the 5 that have come together and are submitting joint applications for funding are obviously the Village of Ilion, but also the Town of Schuyler, looking at some new districts, the Village of Frankfurt, the Village of Herkimer, and the Village, the town rather, of Herkimer itself. Doesn't mean necessarily that either of the 2 villages, Frankfurt or Herkimer, are going to close up shop and just connect up to us immediately, but at least as a backup supply, they certainly see the merit in having an alternative water source, and so they are participating in the proposal. But it's moving forward, and we're told that the governor is lending his full support to this. There has been some funding already awarded to Ilion. We anticipate more funding coming that way as more applications get put in. And the whole thing is really moving along quite rapidly. And it's very encouraging to see the cooperation between these municipalities in Herkimer County working towards this common goal. So I think things are moving, as I said, very smoothly so far. We will be ramping up the public education component of it very shortly, over the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to kick into high gear with town meetings and all kinds of information being put together that we can share on cost, on purpose, water quality issues, water supply issues, all the questions that people would likely be asked, we want to have answers, and be able to meet with the public officials in those towns and have public meetings, sort of town hall meetings. So that activity is going to be kind of starting up in earnest over the next few weeks, and we'll see how it goes. But we're still, 18 to 24 months away from actually probably putting the line in, and we're not going to see really any water flowing for, right, at least 2 years?
At least 2 years.
Yeah. But Ilion is, really moving as fast as they can. They don't want repeating problems that they've had in the past. So if everything goes smoothly, we'd be looking at picking up quite a bit of population that we would begin serving that really needs the water. So it's turning out to be a good thing, and it's, we're a regional entity and it's a regional project, so it's what we're here for, and it's a good fit. If anything comes up that's startling, certainly we'll let you all know right away, but you may see some of this in the news from time to time over the next couple of weeks. And so we'll keep you updated. Pardon? Mohawk just they just put a lot of money in their system, and right now they've rebuilt their system to the point where they're pretty self-sufficient probably for a good amount of time in the future. So they're not interested in really sitting down and talking about it at this point. I can imagine at some time maybe there'd be an interconnection between the systems, but I don't even know hydraulically how easy it is to serve them.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that.
Yeah, so, that's maybe down the road. Right now, they're not interested in sitting down and really discussing it.
The transmission main is being sized to handle that in the future. There may be a small pump station or something, but the transmission main that's going to be built will be sized and can handle all those communities.
Another issue we have going on, which actually Ken Bobrow and I were proposing that we have a quick executive session at the end of the meeting. I mentioned the chairman beforehand.
Very quick.
Very quick. So I'll give you some of the background on it right now without getting into any of the details that would shield the executive session. But as you know, we have Suez running our water treatment plant, and built into the operating contract is that, and we did this as an incentive for them to do additional research on their own and try to find ways to improve the operation, make it more efficient, et cetera. And the way that we structured it was that if they can find ways to increase efficiencies or lower costs or any combination of that we would potentially share those savings with them as an incentive for them to do that work. And so what they're looking at right now is the fact that we have the 2 hydroturbines that are inside the pipe that produce power as we move the water through the plant and down the system. They're not running all the time, but they're running most of the time. And so, and they've been there since the plant was built in 1992 or 3, they've been online. Years ago, we had a power purchase agreement with National Grid where we were earning 6.5 cents a kilowatt hour. Those agreements ended. They have not been renewed. National Grid is only giving us market rate at this point. We're averaging less than 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So our total revenue from electric sales has gone from roughly $125,000 a year down to closer to $60,000, and perhaps on its way even lower. We're not sure. So Suez is looking for a way to maybe take advantage of the electric production, and they've proposed looking at some kind of a net metering arrangement where we could bring a third-party power company in and trade off what's being sold for what's being used through the plant. And they've brought a company to our attention that we've spent probably 5 or 6 conference calls on in the last 3 weeks talking about how this might work. We're not asking the board to make any decision right now at this point in time, but we are exploring it, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of background so that if we do come back maybe in October, you'll have at least a flavor of what's going on here. But it's a company that would pay us something higher than what we're getting now in exchange for some other benefits that they can offer. The details we can talk about in executive session. But I will say also that it's prompted us to take a fresh look at the whole hydroturbine thing. So there are some other avenues that we're exploring right now, and I was actually just looking out to NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, to see if there's some grant funding that might allow us to do something maybe even a little bit differently that wouldn't require a third-party company. So it's a topic that's now in front of us, and worth looking at because we have seen those revenues go down. And I guess that's probably as far as I should go right now, Ken, right? And then,
Or you'll just get us out of executive session. That's good too.
Yeah, no, there's been no discussion of names or negotiations, so that's all I can say for now. And then we have 2 other issues coming up. One, I don't know if it's old business or new business, John. I guess maybe new business, but I know that there's As you know, we had some gentlemen from Frankfurt here at the last meeting, or the meeting before that, really looking for water distribution. And so John brought those gentlemen in, they met with our staff in engineering last week. I think it was a good meeting. John, I don't know if you want to expand on that?
We're running into difficulty obviously because we're having a problem on fire flows. Means installation of a tank. Once we put the tank into the equation, it blows up the project because we exceed that $900 number, which I think has even been lowered per household by the governor's office for a user per year. We're going to be looking for some help. I'm hoping from the authority and instruction of that tank, and trying to get grant funding and so forth to build it. Because that's the only way we're going to make the project happen. I think it'll benefit the Rolling Hills area and the East Park end of the city. There's some pressure issues, I've been told anyway, or flow issues. I'm not sure. I get confused. You engineering guys make me all kind of crazy.
So years ago, we had devised a sort of a decision tree, a flow chart for how we would decide whether or not the authority itself should participate financially in some of these projects. I know Mr. Coyne was here when we did it. I think LSC were probably Bruce and maybe Becky. There was yes or no questions, and really the central question was if a locality is doing an individual project of their own, is there a larger benefit that can be created by our participation that provides a benefit either to existing users now or for future use to allow us, for example, to go at some point further. So we contributed to a tank because making a tank larger than the town was going to do it allowed us the volume that we could then go further and serve new customers after that. It was to our benefit to do that, so we pledged money. And Dick and Dave Jones have analyzed it, and Dave came up with seemingly some pretty sound reasoning on what the benefit to the system would be to do
Existing users.
I don't know if you want to review that.
Well, it is out at the extreme eastern end of our system. I mean, it's a situation where we have like single lines feeding it, so a tank out there would help during outages. There's also, Mr. Wallace mentioned fire flows. They're adequate, but not great. This would improve the fire flows in that area as well. And also, very quickly, add about, I think it was 90 equivalent dwelling units, essentially 90.
There, and you also have the gentlemen, the folks that own that parcel up there.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Citron feed folks
are looking to put in
are
either
all-
residential housing
Yeah.
or to sell it off and put housing into that area, so.
And that whole area would tend to be developed from this. But as far as our existing customers, certainly it would improve reliability and service during a main break or an outage. Having the tank beyond, we'd be able to backfeed where we can at this point.
And I will say, this all came up very suddenly, otherwise it would have been something in the back of our minds. There was really no time to write anything up. The meeting I referred to was just
Wednesday.
Yeah, just a couple
Last
days,
Wednesday.
3 business days ago. And Dick was even out of town at the time it happened, so. But you guys are putting an application in
Yes.
for this funding, and your application would be scored better if there was participation from a partner, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What we had done in the past with the town of Schuyler was we had pledged participation in one of their projects. It was about $52,000, I think, or 53 was the number that they came up with.
The percentage of the overall cost.
But what Frankfurt is looking for is a pledge for some participation. It doesn't mean that we'd be cutting a check if we did that, but it just means at some point, if they get their funding and they move the project forward, that in a year and a half or 2 years from now, we would then cost share on some small portion of that.
Right.
And I think the number was.
That's like $1 million.
Yeah.
900 and change.
Right. And the number, Dick, that you guys were talking about with Frankfurt was
50,000 range.
So what Frankfurt would be looking for in support of their application would be a pledge that we would donate $50,000 towards the cost of their tank to support their project and help them there. What it would do is it would improve their score to actually help it more feasibly get the funding.
Yeah.
So I guess as part of my report, I've just gone into John Wallace's report. And when does your application have to go?
That's one of the better questions. They just put one in on Friday
Yeah.
for I forget, the same ones we're doing here.
Yeah.
A lot of people-
The water infrastructure, yeah.
That was for, actually, no, I'm wrong, that was for another one we just finished, in the lower portion of Frankfurt. It's Zolad Road area, center Zolad Road, why not, it's all the way down the end of Bleecker. Pretty significant contamination, there's some issues there, so we'll hopeful there. This project hasn't even kind of gotten far off the ground yet.
Okay.
We got it going, we thought we were in good shape, then the water tank issue came in, the fire flow issue came in, so we went to the back burner while we developed the other project, now we're back to this project, so.
So, and as I said, I apologize to the board
We're just
that
getting moving.
this has come out of nowhere very suddenly over 2 or 3 days.
But in order for us to try to get any grants, loans, help,
So-
outside of the initial,
So is there time, John, between now and the October meeting for, if the board decided they wanted to make that
Yes.
commitment to help it, can that be done at the October
Yes,
meeting?
absolutely.
Okay. I just, the way it was presented to me, it sounded like we needed to make a decision.
well, we need to get moving.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We've,
Okay,
it's starting to come to me.
so consider all this information on that for future consideration.
And you wouldn't have to repeat it when we futurely
That's
consider.
correct. You can all watch the video on TV. So when that's ready to go and you need that commitment, yeah, let us
Well,
know.
they said, I guess, if we have the commitment, obviously, right, we can start maneuvering.
So we need
I
it now?
don't need it now, we can wait till next month.
Okay.
Let everybody
Okay.
digest it, I mean.
Good enough, good enough. Okay.
Things together, not.
So we won't have to repeat that next time, everybody knows the drill. Perfect. Last thing I wanted to mention is, and I mentioned this briefly during the budget workshop, but for years and years and years, we've used an insurance broker down in the Capital District, who's done a good job, but the two principals that Jim and I have worked with over the last, well, for me, 22 years, for Jim, 20 years, have since both retired, and they have, sort of introduced us to a new person that would be, sort of assuming our accounts. So Jim and I thought that this might be a good time to take a fresh look at moving that business locally and dealing with someone closer to home. We've thought about that over the years, but the problem is that because there are only a limited number of insurance carriers that will actually insure the kind of operation that we do, another broker could not go out and get competing proposals. So, for example, if we wanted to open it up and say, we're doing an RFP for insurance, everybody come in with your best price, they can't do that because the couple of carriers that still would insure us right now would all give their quotes to our existing brokers, Marshall and Stone, because they're our broker of record. They won't quote for anybody else. So the only way anybody could have a competing price is if we designated they're the new broker and all the insurance companies, please send your quotes to these people instead of those people. So there is no way to really do a competitive process on the pricing, and it really just comes down to, is there anybody locally here that's large enough and can focus on what we do? And there's one firm that Jim and I have been talking with, which is Gilroy, Kernan and Gilroy, which is the largest locally owned firm here. And they also are, it seems to be far and away, the most involved in risk management. They actually run a risk management institute, and in fact, our safety officer that we hired 2 years ago, Mark Rising, is now signed up and is actually going to his first session there on Wednesday. You can do that without having them as your brokers, so we haven't made any commitment by enrolling him in it. But it's an extensive program that runs 8 months. He'll get a certificate from them in May as he finishes up the program. But they do concentrate on risk management, well beyond what anyone in the area does. In fact,
For a broker of record letter, is that what
so, I talked to Ken, and Ken's analysis, based on our procurement policy and other things, is that the state says that you don't have to do a competitive process on it, but B, under our procurement policy is professional service, so it has to be awarded by the board rather than administratively, just by Jim and I. And so we can't switch brokers without the board saying, yeah, let's do this now and designate them as our official broker. Once that's done, then a letter would go out to all the insurance carriers noting that, we had have a new broker that issued the quoting. But they seem to be the only one in the area here that would really be capable of doing what we want them to do and be able to do the risk management services that we think are pretty vital to
Does your
current carrier have a broker agreement with that firm?
No. What would happen is that our current carrier deals with Marshall and Sterling, because that's what we've designated, yeah.
Does
Now,
Gilroy-
Kern and Gilroy does work with them, yeah, but they won't quote for them unless we
I understand
authorize
that.
it. But yes, they do have relationships.
Yes, that market.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a fresh set of eyes too, so it's an opportunity. The first thing they would do is come in and review the whole entire operation, review all of our coverage levels and policies. And it's an opportunity to have a fresh set of eyes, you know, looking at what we've been doing. As I said, the same brokers have been handling this for 20-some years. And, you know, once in a while, it's good to give someone else a track record of what's
Is
going
there only
on.
one market available for this type of venture here, or is there a few markets out there? I know brokers.
When you say markets-
This is 20 years.
When you say markets, what do you mean?
Admitted, are they admitted carriers?
Pardon?
Is it admitted New York State carrier that represents us now insurance-wise?
Yeah.
Admitted, yeah.
For a while, there were none. After 911, all the private carriers got out of it. And we were covered by the state, whatever that state was.
State insurance fund.
Yeah.
For workers' comp.
And then little by little, some of the private carriers got back into the market and will now handle us.
How is it treated? Is it like a municipality, or is it treated differently?
Yes.
Yeah, because we're public.
If it is, there's only gonna be like 4 carriers.
That's, yeah,
It's very, very limited,
Yeah.
very limited.
Well,
yeah.
you could probably still bid it, but you'd have to assign a carrier to like 4 people. You know, I mean, everybody gets one or something, and it gets kind of funny. You don't get a chance to put carriers against one another.
Right.
Compete for their business.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to, yeah. There's no way for one firm to round up competing quotes from different carriers.
One firm can get 3 quotes.
No, one firm can. Yeah,
But once if they're the first in,
Right.
nobody else can access it.
that's the problem. So you can't really judge the brokers through pricing competition, because only one can get the
You're
pricing.
either gonna have to assign carriers and markets, or you give a
Right.
broker record letter and,
Right.
I mean, Gilroy doesn't, you know,
Yeah. So
say.
that's our recommendation.
So what exactly do you want to happen here, Pat?
So if the board agrees, then all we would need is a motion to say that we are now going to designate Gilroy, current Gilroy as our official broker of record instead of Marshall and Sterling. And then the rest of the letters, I would then be authorized to sign, you know, denoting that it would go out to carriers and allow Gilroy to get quotes from the carriers that we're quoting from Marshall and Sterling.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Betty. Is there a second? Thanks, Frank. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
One question, one of the topics. Kilowatt produced out of those 2 with the power.
Well, it's 2 million,
Roughly.
2 million kilowatt hours a year, but I don't know what the rating is individually.
I got it somewhere.
Do you know the ratings off the top of your head?
Well, the ratings between the two of them are 450 kilowatts, but that's maximum if we were doing 27
Right.
MGD. I think we might do 250 to 300 kilowatt hours.
We produce about 2 million kilowatt hours a year between the two. But I don't know what daily output.
Almost 2.1.
Anything else? Anybody? Any old business? Any new business? Yeah, Denny?
I understand, once again, we're short people at the maintenance department. And I know Pat has instructed personnel over there to get some people on board, but it hasn't happened yet. I'd like to see these people come in so they get them trained before winter.
I agree.
Because that's tough work in the winter, it's tough enough in the summer. If you have people who aren't trained in the winter, it just makes it that much harder. Get things done.
I agree.
I don't,
We have 3 people in Hopper that are under review right now.
You said they don't qualify to apply.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to come in and work anymore.
well, that's another problem.
It's hard to find people with good backgrounds that have CDLs coming in and construction experience, but there are 3 candidates that he's looking at that he's just doing due diligence on before we resume.
Well, maybe we can put it in by the next meeting.
I'd like to get him in by next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check on it tomorrow.
Anything else? Anybody? I need a motion to go into executive session, please. Thanks, Frank. Second. Thanks, Rich. Any discussion on the, oh, to discuss a potential contract? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.